guys, in this video I'm going to show you guys how you guys can make your tornado move. So this is a really simple concept, super easy to get into, and we're going to start right in with the local script. So inside this local script, all we're doing is we have an event inside our remote folder, and if you want to have access to this, it will be all down in the Discord below, so you can get everything, you can get it working the moment you get when you're down the game. So just a heads up. So all we're doing here is we're just getting the keybind. So we just set our services, we're just getting the player, we're getting our replicate service, we're getting our user input service, and we're getting our input. So we want our input to be R. You can change to whatever you want it to be. And then all we do is just fire the input began, so we can detect when the input began. Game process event, so we can't click R while we're typing, and it won't activate this. Then we can do input.keycode equals our tornado move, so whatever our keybind is, and then we're gonna fire the remote event. So we're gonna fire to the server so we can have everything more optimal and for safe precautions. Alright, so when we fire the remote event, we put everything inside a module script so we can set up our data and we can make it more optimal, right? So first thing we're gonna do, get our services, replicate storage and our run service. And now we're gonna have our cooldown. We're gonna have a 0-second cooldown. We're gonna have our activate time, which is gonna be 2.5 seconds, which is gonna be the time that takes when you activate it. So how long, it's basically the duration. You can think about the duration. And you have the speed, as you set up here, to step per second, and you have a degree, so how much it rotates per second, and how much damage you'll take when you get hit by it. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna get the tornado mod that we have inside of our parts folder. So our little parts folder and replicate storage is a little tornado as well. We're gonna just make this a variable, the parts mod. We're gonna do replicate storage parts.tornado. And then what we're gonna do here is we're gonna make another two variables, but we have this little underslash because this function get bounding box returns the C frame and the size of a model, and we only want the size here. So we're just gonna ignore the first variable. So we made it an underscore, so we know that we're not using it. So what we're gonna do here is gonna assert just assert a primary part. Just so I'm not gonna go too much into this. This is basically just self-explanatory. Then all we're gonna do is set up. Now we're gonna set up our module script. So we're gonna do module script. We're gonna give the index. So all we're doing is set the meta function to ourselves. We're doing the toString method. So if we fire toString, it's gonna return tornado. And then now we're gonna set up now we're gonna create our function. So we're gonna create our new function. So we're gonna do module.new, and we're gonna fire play the parameter, and the type checking is gonna be the player. I'll explain these more in another video so you guys understand what's really going on. And then we're gonna make local self, and then we're gonna make it equal to the player, the cooldown, and is active. And then we're gonna set the meta table to self, and we're gonna have it get the meta method of module, and then we're gonna return self. Alright, so now what we're gonna do here for cast raydown, all we're doing here is we're basically trying to make sure that we're actually hitting we're actually starting on like a ground. Like we want to make sure that that where our character is standing, we can actually place a tornado under our feet or right in front of us. We don't want to like place a tornado in mid-air, but if you wanted that, you could just like remove this. You don't need this, but like this is good to have it more optimal, so you don't have a random tornado just coming out of nowhere. You want a tornado to start from somewhere and build up. So that's all we're doing here. And then for the transform, this is the main part that gets the tornado to move and also rotate at the same time. So all we're doing is again the primary part of our model. So we're getting the tornado, the tornado model. And then what we're gonna do here is we're gonna do the pivot to. So we're gonna pivot the model, and we're gonna have the C frame as well. So pivot.C frame. And then we're gonna C-frame it then we're gonna rotate it by its Y-axis, because the Y-axis will get it to move around in a circle. And then we're gonna do plus move, and this move is gonna be a vector 3, but it's gonna help us move our model forward while we're also rotating around the circle at the same time. And now when we do the module.hit, this is basically just detecting when we hit something, right? So the hitbox will depend on how big the tornado is. So you can just reset the tornado to be a little bit smaller if you like, if you don't want the hitbox to be too big, or you can just change the hitbox right here. So basically we're using get bounding box. So we're gonna get the C frame and the size of the model. We're making our params, and then we're getting our for the descendant type. So we don't want it to hit ourselves. So we're just gonna put ourselves inside of here so we don't hit ourselves. We're gonna loop through parts bounding box. We're gonna get the C frame. We're gonna get temp size, and we're gonna get the parameters. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna check if it's a humanoid, if it's not a humanoid, and if they're in the table, then we're gonna continue because they're already hit. We don't want them to hit multiple times. And then if they do get hit, we're gonna put them in the table because they currently got hit. We don't want them to get hit again, and they're gonna take damage. So now when we do fire, fire is just we're just putting everything we just did together. So we're gonna combine the hit, the transformation, the cast rate down all together to make the move actually work. So it's getting our character, and if not, charge and return end. Self-explanatory. So we're gonna just making sure that our variables are working. So for our on cooldown and our is active, we're just making sure that if it's on, that means we're currently using a move. We don't want to like keep spamming moves. So just making sure that everything is working fine. So then we're gonna get the origin. So this is gonna do self, and we're gonna do cast ray down. Remember, this cast ray down is basically gonna be helping us to determine where if we can like place the tornado in front of us on our feet, if that makes sense, right? Because we're making an array, so we can determine if we're on a base plate or something of that sort. And if not, or if we don't have this, then we'll return, of course, and its active is gonna be equal to true, because that means we pass all the conditions. So now we're about to use the move. Now we're going to get the direction. We want to get the direction of our human root part. We're going to get the unit. It's going to return a vector 3 of our current directional position. And then we're going to clone the tornado model, and then we're going to parent it to the workspace so we can actually see it. And still, this would be really confusing to people that really don't know too much about models. So this is the same thing as positioning, right? So we're doing clone move to. Clone move to, you can think about like the model dot position, and then we're going to set it equal to the origin position plus vector 3.2. Then we have 0. Then we have their size at the y position divided by 2. So you can think about like this, right? So if we have a tornado here, it's going to spawn something like this, right? It's going to spawn like in front of us, and we want to spawn a little bit higher than us, and we know that it's gonna spawn like this when we put it in front of us. So we want to add the second half of the tornado, which is why we do divided by 2. So we add divided by 2 because it's gonna give us the remaining parts that we don't have that's in front of us. If I explained it to you if it makes sense to you, but that's all we're doing. We're just making the whole tornado appear in front of us, and then we're gonna get a table called hits. And then we're gonna do events. It's gonna be our heartbeat, and we're gonna just fire delta time. We're gonna fire the transform, and then we're gonna just fire our clone tornado. Then we're gonna fire delta time for the rotation. So we're gonna do delta time times the rotation speed, and then we're gonna get the speed. So all we're gonna do is to do direction. So which is gonna be our look vector dot unit, and then we're gonna multiply by the speed. So how fast we want to go time delta time, and then we're gonna do self, and then we're gonna fire the hit function so we can detect if something gets hit. And then after we wait, let me get rid of this. So after we get rid of our after we do task of delay and we do activate times, this is how long it's gonna wait before the function is fired. So after we wait a certain amount of time, we're gonna stop the event so we can't detect if someone gets hit by the tornado. We're gonna destroy the clone so we don't have the clone no more. We're gonna set is active equal to false. We're just gonna set all the variables that are important to make. So we want to set all the variables to false, to default variables, so we can use it again. We want to make sure that we can use this move again when we're done. So we're going to set all the variables to the default variables, and then we're going to do task delay cooldown, and then we're going to set cooldown equal to false. So activate time is how long the move is going to be going, and then we're going to wait the cooldown, and then you can actually use it. And all this right here is just the type checking. So we're just making sure that think of type checking like autocomplete. This is our autocomplete. So when we type in player, we get the properties for a player and like the on cooldown, which is a boolean, and the is active, which is a boolean, and then we just set the type of the tornado to this and also in it. So this to the module itself, so like the meta method itself. It's kind of hard to explain if you really don't understand what's going on, but I'll make a video about going over like meta tables and meta functions and all that other stuff, and then we return the module. And then we go straight into our server script where we just make everything work. So we get the module, we get our replicate storage, we get our players, and then we make a table, and then we just do type checking. So it's gonna have the index of a player, and it's gonna have the tornado module inside of it. And all we're gonna do is when the player gets added, we're gonna make the tornado player have the index of the player, like what we did here, and we're gonna make it equal to the tornado module that we had. So everybody's gonna have their own module with tornado move. And then when they leave the game, if they then we're gonna set move equal to tornado player, and if they don't have them, we're gonna turn end. And then but if they do, we're gonna set it equal to nil, so because they're leaving the game. And then what we're going to do here is when they fire the remote event from the client, so when we go back to our little input here, when they fire from the client, we're going to go back to the server here, which is going to be on-server event connect function. We're going to fire player as a default parameter of the on-server event. Then we're going to set local move is going to be equal to tornado player. Then if not, move and return end, because we obviously don't have a module. We obviously can't make this work. We don't have the module. And then we're going to fire. So that's going to fire everything that we did down here, so making the whole entire move work. And that's how you make your tornado skill. If you have any questions about the system and you have any concerns, come hit me up, join the Discord. I would love to help you guys out. If you have any suggestions on my next video, I put polls every week so you guys know what the next video is going to be about. And if you have any questions, join below, and I hope you guys have a great day. Peace out.